Lara's Incredible Shrinking Adventure. Elara was a girl who loved to ask questions, especially about things you couldn't see. She had a wonderful whirring machine in her lab, a machine she called the microscope-o-matic. It didn't just let her see tiny things. It could make her tiny too. One sunny afternoon, Elara decided it was time for a grand adventure. She pressed a big red button, and the machine began to hum. Whoosh! Elara shrank and shrank until she was no bigger than a speck of dust. She landed with a soft thump on a giant, squishy surface. Wow, she whispered. This must be a eukaryotic cell. The cell was like a bustling city, with busy roads and strange, blobby buildings. It was the biggest thing she had ever seen, even though it was so small. Inside the cell, Elara found the city hall, a large, round building called the nucleus. It was the most important place in the whole city, holding all the instructions for how the cell should work. Elara waved to the friendly nucleus, who seemed to be humming a quiet tune. Elara wanted to see what was next, so she shrank again. The eukaryotic cell city disappeared behind her, and she found herself in a much simpler place. This was a bacterium, a little town with just a few simple houses. It was much, much smaller than the big city she had just left. Curious, Elara shrank one more time. The bacterium town vanished, and she saw a tiny, spiky creature floating by. "Hello there," she said. The creature was a virus, and it was so small that it could fit inside the bacterium's smallest house with plenty of room to spare. Elara had one more shrink left. She pressed a button on her tiny wristband, and poof! She was smaller than a speck of glitter. She looked up and saw the smallest thing of all, a little, twisty, busy worker. "What are you?" she asked. "I'm a protein," said the little worker. "I build things." The protein explained that it was a builder, making all the tiny parts that the virus and bacterium needed, and even the big eukaryotic cell. "We are the smallest of all," the protein said proudly, "but we are the busiest." Elara was amazed at how something so small could be so important. It was time to go home. Elara pressed the button on her wristband again, and she began to grow. The tiny protein waved goodbye as Elara grew past it, becoming bigger and bigger until she was the same size as the little virus again. Elara kept growing, getting bigger and bigger. The virus became a tiny point behind her as she grew to be the same size as the bacterium town. Then she grew even more until she was back in the bustling city of the eukaryotic cell. Pop! Elara was back in her lab, standing next to her wonderful microscope-o-matic. She looked at her hand and smiled. She had traveled from the biggest of the tiny things to the smallest, and now she knew that even the smallest things in the world had the biggest jobs.